Hi, everybody. You're on the conference call with Senator Durbin on the new textbook cost law. We're going to get started in just a couple of minutes once everybody gets onto the call.
Hi, Nicole. Are we ready to start?
Yes, we are ready to start. Okay, so hi, everybody. Thanks for attending. My name is Nicole Allen, Textbooks Advocate for the Student PIRGs, which is short for the Student Public Interest Research Groups. And I'm going to be acting as the moderator for the conference call. We're here today to discuss the textbook affordability provisions in the Higher Education Opportunity Act, which we're going to abbreviate in this call as HEOA. It's really a monumental victory in the effort to reduce the cost of textbooks, which has been rising out of control for the past few decades. And the law itself was passed by Congress in July of 2008 as H.R. 4137, and after 2 years of anticipation, it finally went into effect at the beginning of the month, July 1st. So the purpose of this press conference is to explain how the new regulations are going to help drive down costs and what it's going to mean for students, faculty, and colleges all across the country. And since the fight for affordable textbooks isn't over yet, we're also going to talk about some of the next steps towards ending the textbook cost crisis for good. So we have 4 speakers, and each speaker is going to keep their comments brief, 3 to 5 minutes, so that we'll have time for questions at the end. And I am honored to introduce Senator Dick Durbin of Illinois as our first speaker. And his 2007 bill, the College Textbook Affordability Act, formed the basis of the provisions passed in HEOA. And Senator Durbin has just been a staunch advocate for textbook affordability over the past few years, and we're very grateful for his leadership. So, Senator, take it away.
Thanks a lot, Nicole, and thank you all for joining. This is an important issue to me, and my only regret is we gave textbook publishers 2 years to phase it in. It was a price I paid to get it passed, and I wish I didn't have to. Let me tell you how this came to my attention. I visited campuses and started talking to parents and others a few years ago, and I heard a lot of talk about textbooks. And it was pretty clear to me that this was a growing expense. In fact, textbook prices have risen at twice the rate of annual inflation over the last 2 decades. Books for full-time freshmen cost about $900 in 2003. That was about 1/4 of the cost of tuition and fees at a 4-year public school, 75% of tuition and fees at a community college, and they've gone up since then. The 2008 Higher Education Opportunity Act that Congress passed in 2008 included my bill, the College Textbook Affordability Act, and let me give credit where it's due to Congressman George Miller, who was chairman of that committee and also happens to be my roommate, so he heard about this all the time and included it in his bill. As I said, it unfortunately was delayed for 2 years, but as of July 1st this year, the provisions went into effect, and the students should notice them when they come back to school. 3 major changes in the law relating to publisher disclosures, unbundling, and course schedule disclosures. First, textbook publishers have to provide the price of the book in writing to the professors when they're marketing a textbook. Professors tell me they don't even know the retail prices of the textbooks they assign for their classes. That's hard for me to believe, but I've seen it happen. I was at a meeting at a college in a suburb of Chicago, and a young woman student was talking about the price of a textbook in an economics course. And it was over $100 for a paperback book, and her teacher in the front row said, "I had no idea it cost that much." Obviously, the teacher wasn't sensitive to that information. Now there's no excuse. Professors will have the information. Second, textbooks and supplement materials that are sold as a bundle now have to be unbundled. One of the main drivers of textbook cost is unnecessary extras, CDs, workbooks, internet, website access, and the like. Now they're going to be sold in pieces instead of as a package, and that should bring the overall cost down. A lot of professors say they didn't realize that books are being sold with these extras and that students rarely use them, but the fact is these drive up costs, so we're going to unbundle them for actual payment. Finally, colleges have to include the retail price of required and optional materials in the course schedule for the upcoming term, so that when students make their course choices, they know what they're in for in terms of textbook cost. Now we have to enforce this law. Publishers have to comply with it, and we have to make sure that universities take it seriously. I hope the university administrators, as well as the student organizations representing those who are at the school, will understand their rights under the law and use those rights to make them work. Now let me say a word about a bill. This is not a law. What I've just described is a law that went into effect July 1st. The thing I want to introduce now to you is called the Open College Textbook Act. I think this is the next stop in terms of the debate on textbooks. What we're trying to do is provide a short-term federal investment in developing open college textbooks. With the internet, it means a professor, for example, at the University of Illinois can create a lecture, a lesson, a book, or an entire curriculum and share it online. A teacher across the country can access that educational material, adapt it to their own uses, and put it in the classroom. Now, under my bill, and this is called the Open College Textbook Act, S-1714. Under this bill, the Secretary of Education would award grants to colleges or others to create introductory level college textbooks. Once produced, these books will be available at websites to students, professors, and public for free. I think this is the future in many, many areas. We would then have a set of high-quality college textbooks that could be used in any introductory course at any college in the country. And the choice is still up to the professor and the school. Each professor could choose whether to assign the open textbook to a class, but it would save their students $150 or $200 if they decide to do it. So there's an economic incentive to see if you could make the open textbook work. Textbook publishers have used technology to drive up the cost of textbooks through a lot of superfluous and unnecessary online supplements and CD-ROMs. Let's turn that technology to the advantage of learning and to the advantage of the students. Let's improve college access, learning, and affordability. And I hope the Open College Textbook Act will be considered, probably not this year, to be honest with you, but in the next Congress. I'll be glad to turn it over now. I think we have a couple of speakers.
Yes, thank you, Senator. Now, this law is ultimately all about students. So next we're going to go to our student representative, Rashi Mangalik. It's all you, Rashi.
Awesome. Hi, my name is Rashi Mangalik. I'll be a senior at University of Wisconsin-Madison. I'm majoring in economics and sociology. In addition to studying, I'll be chair of WISPERG and will compete on a dance team that I started last year. Throughout college, I paid thousands of dollars for textbooks. Last spring alone, my books cost $500. At first, I just thought I got unlucky that only my books were overly expensive. I knew textbooks were expensive and tried to save money by shopping online, but the national average per student is $900. Such high costs put a huge dent in students' budgets. More loans need to be taken out, and many students do not buy books because they are too expensive. Over half my friends did not buy a required textbook this semester because their books did not fit their budgets. Textbooks are expensive because there are a lot of factors working against students. First off, we may not know which books we need until a few days or a week before classes start, where ordering books online takes 2 weeks. Secondly, new editions of books seem to come out every year, but the information may not change, especially in physical and natural science classes. This makes selling back books very unprofitable. I sold back books in May from the past 3 semesters, probably around $900 worth, and only got $160 back for them. Thirdly, bundling required books with CDs and workbooks really hikes up costs, but a lot of students never use the supplementary material. Fortunately, Congress passed the Higher Education Opportunity Act in 2008 with great provisions to curb these costs. This bill has a number of advantages for students. First, providing textbook lists will give students time to prepare and buy books in advance, like finding really good deals by shopping online. I usually try to get used books from places like half.com, and some of my friends have used textbook rental websites like campusbookrental.com. I also try to find used books from campus book swaps or the bookstore. This law also helps professors figure out if new editions are necessary to switch to, and provides unbundled options so students don't buy what they don't need, reducing waste as well as cost. This act will really benefit all students, and for this I really want to thank Congress for taking action and Senator Durbin for his hard work on the bill. It means a lot when legislators listen and respond on the issues that we as students care about. This law was a huge victory for students. It will help us manage our costs now while also lowering costs in the long run. But we still have a long way to go before textbooks are affordable. That's why I decided to take action on the issue on my own campus by joining WISPERG's campaign for open textbooks. Students like me really see open textbooks as a promising solution because they solve a lot of the challenges we face with traditional textbooks without forcing us to start using ebooks before we're ready. Obviously, open textbooks are great because they're free online, but the real benefit is that they give students the option to choose between reading online or buying a low-cost print copy or even self-printing the sections that they need. Over the past 2 years, my fellow activists and I have educated more than 100 professors about open textbooks. That's another reason I'm so excited about the new law. I think professors will be much more willing to consider affordable options like open textbooks if they knew exactly how much the expensive publisher books cost. This law will really benefit all students as well as professors and is a great step towards textbook affordability.
Great. Thanks, Rashi.
Yep.
Now I'm going to say a few words, and for anybody not here at the beginning, my name is Nicole Allen, and I'm the textbooks advocate for the student PIRGs, and for the last 3 years, I've led our national campaign to make textbooks affordable. So over the years, we've conducted a substantial amount of research on this issue, and I'm going to take the next couple of minutes to explain exactly how the provisions in HEOA are going to help drive down costs. So first, from the long-term perspective, the most significant step this law takes is requiring publishers to disclose price information to professors. I mean, it may be hard to believe that publishers don't do this already, but sure enough, 77% of the faculty we surveyed said that publisher sales reps rarely or never offer the prices unasked. And this only compounds the existing marketplace dynamic that's to blame for high costs. Since professors choose books for students once a book is assigned, publishers are able to charge abnormally high prices, and students have little choice but to pay them. And the new law is going to help mediate this dynamic by ensuring that professors have the information they need to consider the price on behalf of students. And our research actually shows that the vast majority, 94% of professors, would prefer the less expensive of two equal options. So over time, a tendency to choose more affordable books will pressure publishers to offer more affordable books. It's just basic economics from there. So that's the main provision. And then the other two provisions are designed to help students manage their costs in the short term. So the law limits bundling, which means packaging text with CDs and passcodes and other bells and whistles. And these items can increase costs 10 to 50%, but they often go unused. About 2/3 of the professors we surveyed said they rarely or never use the items in class. But thanks to the new law, students will have the ability to buy them separately and save money on the things they don't need. And then finally, the third provision asks the colleges to provide the book assignments when students register for courses. And that way students will know what they're getting into right from the start, and then they have extra time to shop around for the best deals. And really more cost-saving options are available now than ever before. Students can literally save hundreds by shopping online, renting, trading used books with other students, and the law is going to help them take advantage of that. So it tackles the problem on both the short-term and long-term ends, but we do still have a ways to go before textbooks are actually affordable. But fortunately, it does set the stage for better options to take hold. And the two previous speakers have mentioned open textbooks as a solution. And open textbooks are digital books that, unlike conventional e-books, are licensed to be free online and affordable to purchase and print. And they're really gaining in popularity. I mean, individual authors and colleges are writing them, and elected officials like Senator Durbin are seeking to support innovation through funding. And there are even new publishing companies pioneering open business models. And already we have evidence that hundreds of professors and thousands of students are already taking advantage of open textbooks. So we're really looking there for the next step. And I think open textbooks are exactly the kind of solution that HEOA is going to accelerate. You know, now that professors will have price information on the table, when you have a couple of options at $150 to $200 and one that's free online and $20 to $30 in print, it's a different equation. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Professor White to share his viewpoint. Dr. D. Stephen White is a professor of marketing and international business at the University of Massachusetts, Dartmouth. Professor, take it away.
Thank you, Nicole. I'm honored to address the press today to offer the perspective of a professor on the textbook section of the Higher Education Opportunity Act and the cost of college textbooks. I've been teaching at the college level for a little over 24 years. And over the past decade, I've become increasingly concerned about the price of textbooks and the economic burden it puts on students. My concern really is from two perspectives. One, I'm the father of 4 children, 2 of whom are in college. And for those 2 in college, their textbook costs range from $500 to $1,200 per semester. As an example, my son's physics textbook for this fall cost $225. 2, as a professor, I've become aware that students in my classes are foregoing the purchase of textbooks because of the economic cost associated with the cost of textbooks. And this has become more pronounced since the economic downturn. And I can't tell you the number of students who come to me after doing poorly on the first exam, asking if they can borrow my desk copy of the text so they can try to catch up. And it really puts students behind the 8 ball if they don't have the materials they need in the classroom. I can say that I'm not alone in my concern on this issue. My experience suggests that all of my fellow faculty members at the Charlton College of Business and at UMass Dartmouth and nationally are concerned about how the price of textbooks has outpaced inflation over the last 20 years. And I can confirm what Senator Durbin said. In the past, I've been guilty of not asking the publishers what the textbook cost is. We don't know when we're selecting the text. We select texts based on the content of the textbook, the support materials, etc. We rarely ask the price of the text. And we are shocked when we find out in the classroom that text costs $130, $160, $240, right? Now, though, with the new law, and thanks to Senator Durbin and Congress, the book reps will have to give us that information up front and allow us to make educated decisions that assist our students. Prices will be presented to us, and I'm looking forward to having this information when I select text. Affordable alternatives do exist, and I've been lucky enough to find some in my subject area. About a year ago, I switched to an open source textbook for one of my classes to give it a try. Right? I selected it because it was free for my students online, and there were 3 different purchase options, the most expensive one being $60. But most of the students in my class, I'd say about 45 to 60%, use the free online version. The quality of the text is outstanding. The support from the company is outstanding. I don't need to worry about keeping up with new editions. With an open textbook, you can adopt new editions if you want. They're always online, or you can use the old edition. And I can customize the text because it's under the Creative Commons license. The publisher I work with will allow me to mix and match content from different texts if I want, reorder the chapters, etc. So what's this really mean economically? I have 98 students across 3 classes this fall, and those 98 students I expect to save about $11,000 just on my 3 classes for the fall. And when I switch to all 3 classes, so 2 of my 3 classes in the fall will have open source text. All 3 spring 2011 will have open source text. I estimate I'll have about 115 students in that class. They're going to save about $14,000 just on open source, using open source text. So 2 of the textbooks I use come from a company called Flat World Knowledge, and their website's flatworldknowledge.com. They're seriously shaking up the publishing industry. They use a content marketing scheme, Creative Commons license, open source text, and they're turning the industry on its ear or head, however you want to phrase it. I can't say enough about Flat World Knowledge. Two other sources, if you want to look, Merlot, M-E-R-L-O-T, list open source resources, and then what Senator Durbin talked about, the Open College Textbook Act, S 1714, is built on something called the Open Courseware Consortium, which is at ocwconsortium.org, and I think it's centered at MIT. So in summary, HEOA is beneficial to students, transparency fosters choice, knowing textbook prices helps us as professors make informed decisions, and the onus is on us as professors to select the best affordable textbook materials that engage our students and promote learning in the classroom without putting them in deep debt. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Professor White. All right, so now it's time to open up for questions, and as I explained at the beginning of the call, add yourself to the question queue by pressing *1. When it's your turn to speak, you're going to hear the prompter say in your ear that the line is unmuted, and at that point, ask your question. So, let's see. Take the first question. Great.
Yes, hello. This is a question for Professor White.
Yes.
Yes, hi.
Right,
in your experience, this is Ron French from
You're unmuted.
News. In your experience over...
Nicole, I've lost Ron. Nicole, can you hear me?
All right, the first question should be able to talk now.
Okay. I didn't hear Ron's question, though. It went mute on me.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that.
That's okay. So, Ron, could you repeat the question, please?
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
I'll fast. Professor White, can you give us an indication of how often new editions came out when you were using normal textbooks? And in your experience, how much of the material was actually new?
That's a valid question. I'll just say, in my opinion, my observation, textbooks tended to be updated in business every 2 years. And because I teach marketing and international business, the environment is fluid. There are changes, but I'd say about 85% to 90% of the text remain the same, and about 10 to 15% new material added.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great.
Hi, this is Becky Palick. I'm a reporter at the Arizona Daily Star. I was just hoping someone could address why the government should get involved in the textbook market at all.
I'd be happy to address that. Let me just say that the federal government...
Senator Durbin?
Durbin, yes. The federal government makes a massive investment in federal education, billions of dollars. The Pell Grants are up to $5,500 a year, and federal student loans are in the billions of dollars as well. The cost of education is a concern not only to students and families, but to our nation. If there is a way to find an approach that's more economical and gives students an opportunity to learn at lower cost, it means less cost to the government and ultimately less student debt. I mean, that is the one thing that I think has changed the scene dramatically in higher education. Students are emerging with more and more debt, and if there's a way to reduce that debt in a sensible, and I think this is a sensible way, then we ought to pursue it.
Thank you for that answer. And I was also wondering who will enforce, or how will this law be enforced? I mean, is there a way for students to make complaints if they notice that their college isn't listing textbook prices on the schedules?
Well, this is Durbin again, and let me just say that the first thing we need is to have the universities and colleges aware of the law and following the law. We then have hundreds, if not thousands, of students to make sure that happens. And if there is a failure for that to occur, then I'd ask the students to contact the administration first to work out their differences. But failing that, I'd pick up the telephone and call your local congressman or senator and tell them about this difficulty. I think the Department of Education would be interested in that.
So there could be a consequence if the college doesn't follow the rules on this?
Boy, I sure hope so.
Thank you.
All right. And when you're finished asking your questions, please press the pound key. All right. Next question. Go ahead. All right.
Hi, this is Isa Wojciechowska. I'm calling from Inside Higher Ed. I was wondering if professors write conventional textbooks, they get paid for them, but how is that going to work when they're writing these free open textbooks?
I can take that one. This is Nicole from Student Pergs. It varies from author to author. Some receive traditional royalties through a publishing company, like the authors of the books that Steve is using in his class from Flat World Knowledge. Others get funded by grants, and others don't seek compensation. But I think we're all in agreement that for open textbooks to be a solution, there need to be provisions made for authors.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Hi, this is Mary Beth Markline calling from USA Today, and my question is to Rashi in particular, mostly just in some ways just for my edification, but tell me a little bit more about where e-books fit into all of this. Would they be, are those even where are those in terms of how on the horizon in terms of professors using them or students wanting them and that sort of thing? And how are those different from the online, the open courseware online? Some of my question's really basic.
Yep. Well, I guess from my understanding, it kind of varies in terms of how popular they are or how much they're in use. I think there was maybe one or two classes that kind of tried it out at Madison, just as kind of a prototype kind of a thing to see if they could use ebooks. I think a good sample of that is like the Kindle, that it's online but it still works the same way as like a regular book, where it has a normal license and you'd have to buy it for a certain amount of money. Whereas open books would be free online. They have an open license, so they can be like a professor could take out a section or kind of cater it to their class and to their needs. And ebooks also, like, you wouldn't be able to do that with. So this is just more, permeable for professors, and it's kind of a different way to provide the information.
Okay, and this is Nicole, quickly to add to that. Our research is showing that students prefer print to digital, 75% prefer print to digital. So at least for now, print is still going to remain an important part of textbooks, and open textbooks allow students the flexibility to use print in addition to digital rather than having to choose one or the other. I'm going to take the next question now. Thanks.
Hi, this is Kelsey Bird. I'm a writer for the Red and Black in Athens, Georgia. And I was wondering if there's an incentive for professors to switch to cheaper textbooks or to the open books.
Professor White, you want to take that one?
I'd be glad to. Kelsey, the incentive is the economic well-being of the student. We don't get paid to select open source textbooks. We don't get paid to select regular textbooks. And at some universities, say I write a textbook for a traditional company, I'm not allowed to require my students to use that textbook because it's a conflict of interest, right? So our payoff comes from knowing that our students have the correct tools that they need in the classroom. I'm a little biased, though, because I'm a complete open source guy, right? I believe in content marketing, and that's the model that Flat World Knowledge uses. And I really think that content marketing is the future, that we give away knowledge, and then we somehow bill for the ancillary services, right? So through Flat World, you can buy an iPod lecture version for $1.99, right? So you get the text for free, but you can buy supplements by chapter if you need them. I really think that's the model of the future. But to answer your question, no, there are no incentives for us to select one textbook over the other.
I would like to add something to that. At the same time, because a lot of times I've heard that students don't actually buy textbooks because they are rather expensive. So if students are not buying required textbooks that the professor wants them to use to read, then they are not getting the education that the professor wants them to get, and they may not do as well in the class or things like that. So it also benefits for the professors because then all the students are getting every kind of information that they need if they can afford it.
Would you say that's right, Professor?
Yes, it is 100% correct. I can't tell you. Again, in marketing, it's silly. It's not rocket science, I hate to say, but my students can't afford the text, and they come to class without it, and their performance suffers. And when they have to make an economic decision, right, which text do I buy, which do I not buy, it places them in a difficult situation from an educational perspective. It's better for them to have the content than not have the content.
Okay, and one last question. Would open source books unify the subjects taught across the country? Since any professor could get any book from anywhere, would that mean that everybody's teaching the exact same things now?
No, in my opinion, it would be quite the opposite, right? If we have open source, we have open choice, and you can customize open source. So you can tailor education based on region, based on interest, based on perspective, right? So I think it gives us full choice rather than limited choice. It won't lead to standardization. It will lead to more selection options.
All right, great.
Thank you.
Next question. I think we only have time for one more, so the next question is going to be the last.
Hi, yes, I'm DeMarcus Robinson from the Northern Star at Northern Illinois University, and this is for Senator Durbin. I've noticed where when you go to buy books and you go to sell them back to the university, they will offer you maybe $10 for, say, an $80 book. Would there be any provisions to stop this? Because I've noticed they will resell the book for maybe $65 for a profit.
No, we didn't address that. Go Huskies. But I want to say that it gets down to it. What we're trying to do is give you some more options. Like one of the things here is this ISBN number that is included that they have to make available to you. And what you're going to find is you can go shopping online for the original textbook. So you may not get nailed with that front-end cost that's way higher than it should be. And I think this might result in something called the free market, real competition in the bookstore. If they have somebody on the outside who's selling at a fraction of the cost on the inside, they're going to have to be a little more sensible about the way they price books. Right now, you know what I'm talking about. Unless you're smart enough to go online and find your textbook, you're really at their mercy.
Okay. And the second part of my question is there any provision that would have universities tell students up front if there is a book change coming, an edition change coming?
Well, I think that, when the professor is offering books, they're going to tell you what edition that they're interested in offering. So what we want the professor to know and the student to know in advance, how much is it going to cost? Is that new edition so different that it justifies it? Now, I've seen some rather flagrant abuses of this. There's a school in Illinois that will go unnamed, a public school, where a professor updates her Spanish workbook every year. I know Spanish is an evolving language, but that's hard to imagine. So that the latest edition has to be purchased, and they can't use used textbook. And I think the students have to kind of assert themselves, and that kind of baloney's going on, so that professors, and I'm sure they're a small minority, are not abusing this. I've got to jump off now. I thank you all for joining me today, and it's my pleasure to be with you all. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Senator. All right, well, thank you to everybody for being on the call. Thank you, Rashi. Thank you, Professor White. If anybody has additional questions, please direct them to Christina Molka or myself, Nicole Allen. And the contact information is on the news advisory sent out. We'll have a press release out by the end of the day. So thank you very much, everyone.